Can you believe it? There is a place on Earth where the ocean waves are as high as a 10-story building. This is not a science fiction movie. It is a reality that is happening in a small coastal village in Portugal called Nazaré. Here, waves up to 30 meters high appear like monsters swallowing all the limits that humans have ever known about the ocean. But why is this strange phenomenon unique to Nazaré? Is there something going on in the deep sea that we have never known? Or is this a silent warning from the increasingly angry ocean? Let's explore the hidden secrets at the bottom of the sea in Nazaré in today's video. And if you love mysterious stories, science, and majestic nature, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming exciting videos. Nazaré. The name sounds simple, but it is the place that creates the highest waves ever recorded in human history. From a peaceful coastal fishing village in central Portugal, where fishermen used to live with simple wooden boats, Nazaré has become an indispensable holy place on the map of the global surfing world. It is no coincidence that professional athletes flock here every winter, ready to wait for breathtaking moments when facing the sea monster up to 30 meters high, equivalent to a 10-story building rolling violently. In the list of 10 highest waves ever conquered, up to 7 were recorded right in the Sea of Nazaré. This number is enough to turn this place into the capital of supergiant waves. Unlike other famous surfing destinations such as Hawaii, California, South Africa, or Australia, which depend largely on the weather and seasonal flows, Nazaré possesses a characteristic that surprises the world: the regularity, intensity, and terrifying height of its waves. Every year from October to April, storms in the North Atlantic create strong winds pushing the seawater towards the shore. But what makes the difference is not only the wind, but also the unique geological structure under the Sea of Nazaré. It is the convergence of climate conditions, ocean currents, seabed topography, and tidal differences that make this small sea become the stage for the world's largest waves. Not only is it a place to test the bravery and survival skills of veteran surfers, Nazaré has also become a symbol of the majesty of nature and the limits of human endurance. The moments when a small person stands on a cliff tens of meters high, sliding on the roaring water, not only creates an overwhelming feeling, but also clearly demonstrates the magical and dangerous connection between humans and the ocean. It is no longer a simple sport, but a confrontation between reason and instinct, between the power of nature and the desire to conquer of humans. And that is what has made Nazaré an immortal symbol in modern extreme sports culture. To understand how the waves at Nazaré can reach an astonishing height of nearly 30 meters, it is first necessary to understand the general mechanism of ocean wave formation. In fact, waves are not simply water moving horizontally, but a form of cyclical movement where energy is transferred through a fluid medium in a circular pattern. When wind blows across the surface of the sea, it creates friction with the water surface and gradually transfers energy to the water particles, causing them to move in a circular pattern. That is waves. The strength and speed of a wave depends on 3 factors: wind intensity, wind duration, and the area of water that the wind affects, called the fetch. When these 3 factors converge at a maximum, the largest waves begin to form offshore. However, offshore waves do not usually reach their maximum height immediately. They only really stretch when they encounter special geographical conditions close to the shore. At Nazaré, the combination of wind-driven waves from the Atlantic Ocean and the topography of the seafloor is key to the phenomenon of superwaves. As these waves approach land, they begin to interact with the seafloor. In shallow waters, the lower part of the wave is slowed down by friction with the seafloor, while the upper part continues to move faster. This causes the wave to tilt forward and eventually break into a steep, towering wave. It is this mechanism that creates the rolling waves we often see, especially in surfing. What makes Nazaré special is the presence of an underwater canyon called Nazaré Canyon, one of the rare underwater landforms on the planet. This canyon is 230 kilometers long and nearly 5,000 meters deep, nearly 3 times the depth of the Grand Canyon in the United States. As the waves from the open ocean approach the shore, the portion of the water that passes over the shallow seabed slows down while the portion that passes through the deep canyon of Nazaré moves faster because it is not impeded by the seabed. As a result, the two waves with different speeds meet close to the shore, creating a phenomenon called interference and resonance. This resonance makes the waves not only steeper but also taller, almost doubling in power and height just seconds before hitting the shore. In addition, the Canyon of Nazaré is not only deep but also has a special shape curving slightly towards the north. This changes the direction of the waves, creating a convergence of energy from many different directions. When the divergent waves collide and combine with the longshore current, also known as the longshore current, they create a strong and concentrated vortex, focusing all the power on a specific point on the Nazaré coast. That's why, at certain times of the year, the waves here suddenly shoot up like walls of water, making even professional surfers wary. And that's not all. The tidal factor at Nazaré also plays an important role. Whenever there is a large tidal difference, up to 4 meters, the entire force of the ocean combined with the rapid change in water level increases the height and impact of the waves. It is under these conditions, when the tide is high, the wind is strong, the waves converge, and the seabed terrain creates ideal conditions, that the water monster, Nazaré, truly rises ready to sweep away anything in its path. The Nazaré Canyon is not only the source of the world's tallest waves, but also a geological mystery that has puzzled scientists for decades. This giant canyon lies right off the coast of Nazaré, stretching about 230 kilometers out to sea and reaching a depth of nearly 5,000 meters, almost 3 times the depth of the Grand Canyon in the United States. However, what interests researchers most is the question, when and how did the Nazaré Canyon form? Because only by understanding the geological past of this sea can we predict its future, especially in the context of global climate change that is changing the behavior of the ocean. Currently, there are 2 main hypotheses about the origin of the Nazaré Canyon. The first hypothesis suggests that it was formed due to tectonic activity of the Earth's crust, specifically strong geological movements such as earthquakes or collapse of the seafloor in the distant past. However, the second hypothesis, which is more widely supported by scientists, suggests that the canyon is the result of ancient river erosion during the Ice Age. About 18,000 years ago, global sea levels were about 820 to 140 meters lower than they are today. At that time, the current Nazaré region was not a seabed, but rather land, where a large river system flowed into the ocean continuously, eroding the terrain over a long period of time. A typical study published by Professor Pedro Cunha of the University of Coimbra, Portugal, has reinforced this hypothesis. According to him, during the Ice Age, the rivers in the Nazaré region flowed strongly and continuously in an environment with low temperatures and high rainfall, especially in autumn and spring. The combination of large water flows and long periods of time created intense erosion, digging deep into the ground, gradually forming a large gully. When the sea level rose again after the Ice Age, about 3,000 years ago, the giant canyon was submerged and further eroded by the ocean currents, creating the deep sea canyon it is today. What is worrying is that according to recent studies, the height of the waves at Nazaré has been increasing over time. Professor Antunes do Carmo from the Department of Water Engineering at the University of Coimbra analyzed wave data from the 1930s to the present and pointed out that since the mid-1990s, Atlantic storms have tended to be stronger and the average wave height has increased by 1 to 2% each year. The cause is believed to be global climate change, which makes storms not only more frequent but also more intense, thereby generating more wave energy towards Nazaré. With such a steady increase, many experts warn that Nazaré could see waves higher than its current record in the next few decades. This is not only a concern for surfers, but also a stark warning for coastal communities. As climate change continues to warm the ocean, altering global currents and weather patterns, the Nazaré Gorge, which was formed by nature tens of thousands of years ago, could become the site of waves the likes of which have never been seen in modern history. The majesty of Nazaré's 30-meter-high waves is not only a source of inspiration for extreme sports, but also a sobering reminder of the raw power of nature that humans cannot control. When you look at images of surfers standing on the crest of giant waves, it is easy to be mesmerized by the spectacle and excitement. But behind the beauty are very real risks, not only to individuals, but also to coastal ecosystems and the communities that live nearby. In fact, Nazaré has not always been ready to welcome giant waves. Despite its global reputation, the coastal protection infrastructure here is still relatively limited. If in the future, wave heights continue to increase as quickly as scientists warn, at a rate of 1–2% per year, then, in just a few decades, the world could see waves exceeding 35 to 40 meters in this area. With such force, even the most solid seawalls and coastal structures could collapse if they are not redesigned to cope with the new threat. What is even more worrying is that this is not a problem unique to Nazaré. As the ocean's warm and extreme weather patterns increase due to climate change, many other coastal regions around the world will also face unusually large waves, rising sea levels, and rapid erosion. From Japan and the Philippines to the United States, Vietnam, and Pacific Island nations, no place is completely safe from the ocean's increasingly unpredictable wrath. Nazaré may be the first to sound the alarm, but it will not be the last to feel the consequences. In particular, when large waves are combined with high tides, strong winds, and rising sea levels, it creates a complex and highly destructive disaster. A 30-meter wave is not just a matter of a few dramatic minutes at sea. It can destroy fishing ports, residential areas, coastlines, and claim lives in seconds. Furthermore, in an era of rapid globalization and urbanization, coastal cities are expanding without adequate defenses against natural disasters, multiplying the risks. In the face of the increasing ferocity of Nazaré's supersized waves, the question is, what can science and technology do to help humans survive, adapt to, or even control these unpredictable natural phenomena? As we face walls of water tens of meters high that are coming ashore, the only intervention that can come from human intelligence itself. Through scientific research, early forecasting, and advanced disaster prevention technology. First and foremost, the most important thing that modern science is doing, and must continue to do better, is analyzing, monitoring, and forecasting supersized waves with great precision. Thanks to a global satellite observation system combined with deep-sea sensor buoys, and coastal radar scientists are now able to monitor the height, direction, and energy of Nazaré's waves in real time. These data are not only useful for the adventure sports industry, but also help local authorities proactively issue early warnings when waves are at risk of exceeding safety thresholds. This is the first and essential step in minimizing damage. Second, numerical modeling technology is becoming increasingly accurate and effective. By programming 3D ocean models combined with meteorological data, experts can predict the future of waves in Nazaré based on wind, tidal, and seabed structure conditions. This helps policymakers to come up with response plans for each specific scenario, from evacuating residents, stopping tourism activities, to strengthening coastal infrastructure at times of the highest waves. Another direction that cannot be ignored is the technology to build wave-proof infrastructure and smart coastal urban design. Traditional seawalls today are difficult to withstand waves over 30 meters high. Therefore, architects and engineers need to move towards more flexible designs, such as mobile breakwater systems, foundations that can absorb impact energy, and new materials that are resistant to waves and salt. These solutions require large investments, but compared to the price to pay after a big wave, it is an absolutely necessary investment. At the same time, community education is also an indispensable part of the strategy of technologizing big wave risk management. Using warning applications on phones, digital maps of dangerous areas, or virtual reality VR simulations to train people on how to react to big waves is a practical, effective step that is in line with the trend of technology 4.0. Instead of waiting and responding passively, technology allows us to learn to prepare more proactively and intelligently. Finally, one of the notable applications being researched is converting wave energy into electricity. As the waves of Nazaré carry enormous amounts of energy, harnessing and converting them into renewable energy could turn a disaster into a resource. This would not only be a breakthrough in the field of clean energy, but also a way for humans to learn to live in harmony with nature instead of trying to confront or control it. What do you think about the giant waves in Nazaré? Are they a warning or an opportunity for humanity to enter the era of technology, adapting to nature? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I look forward to reading your views. And if you find this topic interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos about mysterious phenomena, science, and the future of humanity. Thanks for watching. See you in the next videos.